Hello, I'm Alan Fitzgerald. I'm a graduate student. I've done a recipe manager. So while deciding what to do for a project, while talking to my wife, we were looking at the different recipe manager applications that were available for the iPhone, and I did that by accident. For the iPhone and for the iTouch also, because that's what my wife happens to have. So I wanted to be able to make sure that I had an application I could run on both. And she has some specific stuff that she really cared about, which really had to do with being able to sync with the web. So she wants to be able to share recipes, but not share all of her recipes, but only the ones she marks as being shared, and also be able to find recipes from other people and be able to update the stuff on the website so you don't have to use the iPhone and the iTouch interface all the time. So that's a pretty broad space for me to work on, especially in the time constraints we had. So you'll see I kind of limited it down quite a bit, but some of the stuff I wanted to do on the device was I wanted to be able to use core data. We hadn't really messed with core data too much in the class, and so I wanted to be able to use their core data as their database interface. So it's like an object relational kind of thing, so you can actually save objects to the database. So this is the kind of the core screen of my recipe manager. It's actually entering a new recipe here. So you can actually edit the actual name and a short description, preparation time. You can set up different types of recipes. This goes off to another screen where you can choose the types and actually add the types. Ingredients, the same thing. At the bottom of this list here is an add button, so you can go off to a screen that you can actually add new ingredients. You can actually order these also. This is the view mode of the same thing. And again, at the very bottom, there's an instructions tab button that can actually take you to a separate screen where you can actually have specific instructions on how to do the recipe. So this is the list of recipes. When you first click on the button here for recipes, this is where you'd be. The plus gets you to that other screen we were just on. So you can build up your set of recipes here, and then you'd actually be able to create meals out of those recipes and then shopping lists from them. That's kind of the other thing my wife really wanted, was to be able to create a shopping list. And then also, something I didn't get to was actually order the shopping list by the aisle of the store. And that's something some of the other recipe managers actually have out there, some stuff like that. So you can actually set like your home store up and all that stuff, which is kind of crazy. But so here's actually creating a new meal. You can actually add recipes to the meal. When you save that recipe here, you can hit create shopping list, and that'll actually create your shopping list. I can't remember how far I went on this, but I know you can remove items from here, but I can't remember if I can check them off or not. But that was one of the next steps there, was to be able to check those off as you shop. The other one another thing I wanted to do here was to be able to combine items. So you have multiple recipes, all of them want milk, and they all want small amounts, and to be able to add those up was going to be something important. Like I said, I had a very large set of things to do, so I wanted to make a functional application. I did get to do part of the web side of it. So I used Grails to create a simple web application. So in this case, I had actually added that previous, this old-fashioned chicken recipe over here. As you can see, I started up Grails, it picked it up, and the mobile application actually synced the recipe up to the web. So you can see it started up, and it's right up there automatically. I went ahead here and added a new recipe, apple pie, and then you can see at the top there it would sync down to the phone. Very simple, it's just the recipes. It doesn't even have ingredients in the recipe, but I wanted to make sure that I could actually push stuff up and down between the web and the device. And core data behind the scenes, I use core data for all the data in there, and I have to thank Apple on that. They had some great demonstrations. Actually, one of the demos is a recipe manager. That's kind of where I started, and they had some basic stuff like this, and I just started tearing it apart and trying to learn it from scratch, piece by piece, and working my way from there. But Apple's documentation is really good.
I neglected at the end of each person, we have about 5 minutes or so. If you guys have questions, you want to ask about his application or anything?
The syncing. How are you doing that? Is a pull and pull?
Yeah,
push?
the device is actually polling the website every, I don't know what it was, 15 or 30 seconds, something like that. So it would go out and actually have I had, of course, issues with primary keys and trying to figure out what's new and timestamps and all kinds of jazz like that. So I ended up creating a globally unique ID on the device because they don't really have keys that are really unique on the device that are from create time all the way through. So I created my own unique ID there. Found some documentation somewhere where I could actually use some internal APIs to create that. So I actually have an ID there, and I just go and get ones that don't have an ID yet as new ones, and then go check the timestamps and the other ones for updating. And yeah, so the device is pulling and pushing everything. So the web doesn't have any idea about the devices at all.
Apple did come out with a push notification service, but it was after we had already started class,
Right.
or after we had already started our progress, so it wasn't available to us until near the end. So some of
Yeah,
the push notification stuff might possibly change that. But
Yeah, it would have been kind of cool to make it so that when you have updated or added a new, it actually probably would have simplified the whole process quite a bit, because I could have just forced it on people instead.
Sure.
But yeah, that wasn't quite there, and for everything I had seen to that point, it wasn't really documented that well at that point anyway, so I really didn't want to try to get into that. But, any other questions?
So that syncing isn't the way the calendar syncs, but when you have to actually literally plug in the iPhone to the computer.
Correct.
So
So this is actually, it opens up a connection to I actually did it to all those web services. So so in Rails, it's really easy to set up a web service, and I just transfer everything back and forth with JSON, and it made it really easy. The iPhone actually has a lot of built-in stuff. Actually, our samples from Stanford had a lot of built-in stuff about translating objects into JSON. So I just extended that because Rails, I can just take an object in Rails and say its output type is JSON. It just does it. So it was really easy to set up. I mean, that web app, it probably took me a half hour maybe to set it up because it's all the built-in scaffolding stuff inside of Rails. So, anything else?
I guess Brian's up next.
Brian's up.